This last 13th video is on how to cite sources in historical research. The first question is, when do I have a citation? Well, in a general sense, you want to cite a source when someone might question you. If you make a point and someone says, I'm calling you on that, that's not true, then you want to be able to say that where you got it. It also, you might want to cite things when someone might want to explore it a little bit further. These are often called explanatory footnotes. They're usually brief but in-depth discussions of topics mentioned in the text, but where you've included them in the text, it would have been disruptive. But in general, whenever you have a citation, whenever you have a quote, rather, you want to have a citation. And whenever you directly mention a published or other reference source in the narrative, you need a citation. Whenever you use someone's ideas or arguments, you need a citation. Again, plagiarism is not just the exact words. Whenever you mention facts or people that are not well known, then you might need to have a citation. If you say George Washington was the first president of the United States, that fact's real well known. You don't need to cite that. But if you cite something that somebody might call you on, then you need to have a citation. I should note that when you include a quote, everything between the quotation marks must be exactly the same as in the original you're citing, even if there's a grammatical mistake or misspelling. When there is a mistake, you can acknowledge it by putting at the end of the mistake, in parentheses, the word sic, which is from the Latin. It is, example would be, the United States sic is a great nation. Whoever wrote that originally forgot to add the S. And so when you write sic, you insert it. That's when you're telling your reader you acknowledge that that's incorrect. All right, let's be clear here. This is very, very important. History papers do not use APA or MLA, Modern Language Association citation formats. They do not. We have our own discipline-specific citation formats. And what we use are two guides. One of them is Cadell Turabian's A Manual for Writers of Research Papers, Theses, and Dissertations. It's in its 8th edition now, and it's commonly referred to simply as Turabian. The other one we use, the second one, is known as the Chicago Manual of Style, and it's essentially the exact same format. You can get a hard copy of Turabian for reference, and the library has a hard copy, or you can just use the internet. There are several sites which are citation machines, but the best and easiest reference is simply to Google Turabian Citation Guide, University of Chicago Press. The site for this is noted below in this slide. Now, you may be required to have both footnotes or endnotes in the paper, and as well a bibliography at the very end. A footnote or endnote, of course, is a citation of a specific point in the paper, while a bibliography is a full list of all the sources employed. There's a slight difference in formatting. The most notable are the simple fact that the bibliography, which should be separated into primary and secondary sources, does not have page numbers and is listed alphabetically by the author's last name. The difference in a book citation is noted on the right. A big thing to keep in mind with footnotes and endnotes is that you want your readers to have enough information from the citation so that if they wanted to find it themselves, they could. This means that after the first time you cite it, the citation must include the full bibliographic data. Afterwards, however, you can simply abbreviate the citation. Your reader, after all, already has seen the full citation from the earlier note. If the citation is exactly the same citation that went immediately before, the footnote immediately before, you can simply write the word IBID, I-B-I-D, for the new citation, which means the same as what went before. If you use the same source as what went before but a different page number, you can simply write IBID, comma, and then the new page number. Be aware, however, that if you use IBID, that means that it is the same as everything in the previous citation. If the previous citation had a number of sources included, but the new citation only cites one, then you can't use the term IBID. I wanted to give you some examples of what you can find in Turabian, some of the common citations. So here are some examples of basic endnote or footnote format. Again, all this is in Turabian or Chicago Manual of Style. The first time you cite a book, you need the author's first name and last name, followed by a comma, and then the title of the book. Things that are published, like books, need to be italicized. Following the title of the book, you have in parentheses the place of publication, followed by a colon, whoever published it, comma, date of publication, and then the end of the parentheses, followed by a comma and the page number, period. Now, you don't need to write the word page, you just put the page number there. The second time you cite a book, but it's not immediately following the first citation. Of course, if it were immediately following the first citation, you could simply use the word ibid. But the second time, not immediately following the first citation, all you need is the author's last name, comma, the title of the book italicized, and it's okay to abbreviate that, comma, and then the page number, period. Now, the first time you cite an article, you have the author's first name and last name, comma, and then in quotation marks, you have the title of the article, and then end of quotation marks, comma, and then you have the title of the journal in which it was published, and that is published, so you need to have that italicized. And then immediately following the title of the journal with no punctuation, you have the volume number, comma, and the number of the volume, followed by a parentheses, the date of the journal, which is usually a month or year, and then the end of the parentheses, followed by a colon and the page number, period. The second time you cite an article, but again, not immediately following the first citation, all you need is the author's last name, comma, and then in quotation marks, the title of the article, and then the end of quotation marks, comma, and the page number, period. If you're citing an article in a book for the first time, you have the author's first name and last name, comma, and then the title of the article in quotation marks, and then you have the word in, and then you follow the in with the book's author's first name and last name, comma, the title of the book, and that is italicized, followed by, in parentheses, the place of publication, colon, publisher, comma, date of publication, end of parentheses, followed by a comma, and then the page number, period. The second time you cite an article in a book, but again, it's not immediately following the first citation, all you need is the author's last name, comma, and then in quotation marks, the title of the article, and end of quotation marks, followed by the word in, and then you have the author's last name, comma, title of the book, parentheses, it's italicized rather, and then you have comma, followed by the page number, period. You may see sometimes when people cite a newspaper putting the reporter's name and the title of the specific article in the newspaper, but that's not common. Generally, when citing a newspaper, it's not usually necessary to cite the name and author of any given article. You can simply cite the title of the newspaper, again, italicized because it's published, and then the date and page number. For example, you have an example here from the New York Times. A lot of what you're doing, of course, is going to be citing internet sources. And Turabian or Chicago Manual Style can give you specifics, so you want to get online and look at this. But the first citation of a website should also provide the reader with the complete information necessary so the reader can find that source. Now, in a general sense, this includes first, what it is you're citing, who posted it or wrote it, when they posted or wrote it, the complete URL, and then the date you accessed it, followed by a period. If you are talking about an archives, then you want to have what it is, who wrote it, when it was written, and then you want to have the cataloging system that the archives uses. For example, folder name, box number, this so-and-so archives located so-and-so place, period. I should note that one footnote or endnote citation can have more than one source included. Whenever you have a citation, it means everything includes everything that's cited since the previous citation. Anyway, if you have more than one sources you're citing in any one given footnote or endnote, separate the sources with the use of a semicolon and follow the rules already just mentioned. It should be noted that word processing programs automatically do the hard part of formatting. You're probably familiar with this. In Word, place the cursor where you want the citation to be in the narrative. It should be noted that in history, unlike scientific citations, the footnote number is not usually in the middle of the sentence, but at the end only. In any event, once the cursor is where you want it to be, click and then go to the menu bar at the top. Click on References, then insert Footnote, or you can do endnotes there too if you want. This automatically places you at the bottom of the page with the appropriate footnote number, and you're free to begin writing the citation. When you're finished writing the citation, simply move the cursor back to the narrative where you want to begin your next sentence in the narrative, and you click there. Once again, do not simply use parentheses with the author's name and date of the publication at the end of the sentence. This is not correct citation format. Okay, congratulations. You've now completed the last video, this video on citing historical sources. All you got to do is do the assigned last worksheet, take the final exam when the date that's given, and you're finished with this course. If, however, as you proceed through the history program, you ever have any questions, I and my colleagues are certainly willing to help, as I've said many times before in these videos. Just ask. Anyway, this concludes all the videos. Good luck.